Welcome to the Scandal Podcast. I am one of your hostesses. I'm Jaha Knight, author, branding coach, and speaker, and I am joined by the Scandal Podcast team. So introduce yourselves, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, my name's Elde'a, better known as Janet Tamerfran on Twitter. Hi, guys.
And I am Katrina Pavela. Oh, are you going?
No, his door is closing.
Oh. I'm Katrina Pavela. Your reasonable neighborhood scandal. Always being drowned out by Langstan.
Yeah! Langstan, you're going to have to call us back when you get home.
That's the trade. But I'll just real quickly introduce myself. I'm Langstan Smith. I'm going to sign off for a minute because I got to catch a train, and I don't want to distract everybody. So I'll be back shortly.
He'll be back.
Okay.
Bye.
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 Go ahead and reintroduce yourself, Katrina. I don't think anybody heard that.
I am Katrina Pavela, your reasonable neighborhood scandalologist over at katrinapavela.tumblr.com, and I'm also at #1feeling on Twitter.
Now, we talked about a couple of seconds ago, they were going on and on about the title of the show, but I told them that they had to wait because we had to get this all the juicy right here on the podcast. So talk about the title of the show today, which is the first episode of the 4th season of Scandal. So awesome.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
The show is back, and that the tone is back, and less B613 and establishing, political arcs like right out the gate. I'm very happy.
I was happy with it
Sounded so
overall, too. I was happy with the episode. There wasn't really a lot. I felt like a lot of the questions that we had were answered, but it presented more questions, which is what it's supposed to do, set up the show for the entire season. So, yeah, I was happy with it.
And if people didn't catch the title, Randy, Red, Superfreak, and Julia are the remaining members of OPA, which is now back.
Yes.
Well, they're half back.
I don't know if they're all coming back, though.
Yeah, they're half back.
I was surprised that Quinn was the one in charge of getting it back together. That was surprising to me.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised by that. I thought it would for sure be Abby. I was very surprised that Quinn was the one who brought everyone back together. Abby in particular, and we all agreed we thought it'd be her. So to find out that she's working at the White House, totally shocked about that. I really didn't predict that for her character. I didn't see that coming a mile away. Huck, I kind of predicted that he would withdraw, but I didn't predict in the manner in which he did it, like go get a regular job and try to be a regular person. I thought that maybe we would see him in a subway being homeless again somewhere is what I thought.
Wow, really? Did you really think that he was going to see that far?
There could be just to go back. You know how sometimes you revert back to what's comfortable and
there's no looking back.
That's true.
That's
what I thought. Like Quinn, I was just surprised that everyone was kind of like Abby referred to it. She's like, "Quit calling me super freak. I have things to do." But with Olivia in particular, it was as if nothing had happened between those two. She was like, "Oh, you're the one who sent the letter," and Quinn's like, "Yeah, I did, and I found you." And she's like, "Okay." I was like, "Come on, Olivia."
I don't know. It didn't seem like that to me. I knew it wasn't going to be. I knew it wasn't going to be Abby because Abby was the most hurt by Olivia did. Because of how much she had Olivia's back throughout the entire season. She was 100% there for her. In previous seasons, we've seen Olivia betray Abby, spying on her, setting her up to destroy her relationship with David in the second season. Abby challenging Olivia on her shit about what gladiators are, what she is and is not supposed to do as head gladiator in charge. And she really wasn't like that in the 4th season. She too did whatever Olivia needed. She was the one that gave Olivia a hug when Olivia was trying to make her mother's disappearance a case at OPA, and Abby was like, holy shit, you need a hug, and I'm going to be the one to give it to you. But I wasn't surprised that it was Quinn who did it, because if you think about it, Quinn had the least to lose. Quinn went down a rabbit hole last season in trying to figure out what her Quinn identity was going to be now that Lindsay Dwyer dead. And she was the one she was the gladiator that betrayed Olivia in season 3. She went off and did her own thing. So now she found what she wanted to do. I really wasn't surprised that she was the one that used her super sleuthing skills to get Olivia back, or at least to say, hey, here's something you might want to care about. Plus, I think Quinn is so enamored with her skills that she's gained from Hawk and from B613 that she was probably bored and was like, I bet you I could find this bitch. Let me show you.
Langstan, do you have something to add for that for the segment about last night's episode?
Well, actually, I thought I was on mute, but I guess
I was about to mute
now you are not.
I want you to comment before.
Well, specifically, the question is, what did I think about last night's episode?
Yes.
I thought it was pretty powerful and a good way to start off after the season finale from last year, or actually earlier this year. But I thought that it was very interesting, just everything that happened from the point of finding out that it was Quinn who actually located her and brought her back. The whole, I had a lot of favorite scenes, one of them being the confrontation between Olivia and
Abby.
And of course, the situation with Olivia and Jake, Melly, her madness, her swirl down the rabbit hole.
Whoa.
She really was.
Whoa, we gotta get to Melly later on.
I can't wait to be able to express myself more fully.
When we talk about Melly.
We'll wait to the end. We'll keep it towards that.
Yeah, we keep that to the end.
All right, so I'm gonna mute Langstan right now, but I'm gonna ask y'all some questions.
Okay.
So, what were your favorite 3 moments from last night?
For me, obviously the scene at the end with Olivia and Fitz. I think everyone sort of felt that. That was, you felt that come through the screen. You were like, I was like almost a little kid, like when it happened, I kind of jumped and was like, ooh, did you, like, I felt it.
I squeezed.
I was like, oh. So that was one of my favorites. If we're not talking about scenes, if we're just talking about moments, another one would be when Olivia walked back into OPA by herself and saw like everything covered up, and kind of they showed her having that slow walk through like as she was doing that, I was like remembering scenes. I was like, oh, remember that was when David was staying there and Harrison was like, why are you eating my cereal, and things like that. Like that was a favorite moment of mine. And then the other favorite moment of mine was, it actually was the beginning before Jake came on the scene, when she was just sitting on the beach by herself. Those were my 3.
What were yours, Katrina?
Gosh, well, I had a couple. One, the one at the end, obviously, and we could talk about why later, especially when you contrast it to the opening scene, and the contrast between that is why I think people should really calm their asses down about the whole high thing, because they're being really literal and Shonda is trolling the fuck out of y'all.
Yeah.
Just stop it. And because technically Olivia also greeted Huck with hi at the data stop place. But anyway, Olitz's high thing will always be their thing. So whatever. So the end moment, holy shit, Melly and Fitz on the balcony, that entire conversation, and what it revealed about their marriage, which I am not going to be humble about this, but there's a whole lot of shit that I was right about that in this episode. This is how it's going to go down with what's going to happen with it. And here's what's going to happen with Melly. Now, I didn't think Melly was going to become the dude from The Big Lebowski, but like all the other stuff, I was right about. But she tripped me the fuck out. The 1976 thing, I wanted to high five her. So I was like, yes, Melly, I am a fan of the vintage badge. You go ahead. Yes. But also, one of the
really?
We can't all be porn stars out here. Like, that's how people are meant to be covered. Hair serves a purpose.
You don't want to just go ahead full badger on folks.
Yeah.
Like, really?
Some people like that.
I guess.
It depends on your lover or what you feel like you want to do. But yeah. The other moment was, oh God, I had so many. But one of the he's like,
more than I needed to know.
Yeah. I ain't touching that.
Well, you know what? Fitz didn't look like he wanted to touch that either. Like, just so you know, some other bullshit that I'm not doing anymore. If you decide, I saw Olivia and I'm feeling good, Melly, can you help me out?
Yeah,
it's not going down there. Shit. My other moment was, and the reason why is because it was the moment when I was like, there's what's different about Olivia. There is what's different. It was the moment, you mentioned it, Langston, when she had the meeting with Abby and the showdown. And
what happened?
She froze.
She wasn't there. And
froze.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. Anyway, and Olivia turned that right back around, and she was so right. She's like, wait a minute. I don't need I don't need you to forgive me because I didn't do anything wrong. I went and got my life. 2, your ass was right here, 4 blocks away. What the fuck did you do to help? Nothing. Okay, then. And what that showed me was Olivia is not allowing people to make her feel guilty for shit that they need to take responsibility for. And I'm like, that's what's different.
I disagree. I felt like she didn't owe everybody an apology, but I felt like with Abby and with Huck and with Quinn, maybe not Quinn, but with Abby and Huck, I felt like she could have been more sympathetic to what they were going through. It was like she came back and she was like, well, what happened? And it's like, you left. You were the person that brought all these people together. So did you honestly think that when you removed yourself from the situation that they weren't going to just fall apart and fall by the wayside? I actually felt like Abby was more right in that instance of like,
not in the way that Abby approached it. Not in the way that Abby approached it. If Abby had said, what you did personally hurt me, because like I was really there for you and I took like a personal like hurt for that. If Abby had approached her that way, what Abby tried to do was blame Olivia for Harrison's death by saying, because you left, nobody was looking out for this guy. He would have probably been found. Maybe he could have been rescued if you had been around and was like helping everybody like keep their lives together. That's not Olivia's responsibility. They're people and they're responsible for themselves. And their family reached out to Quinn, reached out to Huck while she was gone. And Olivia was quite right about that. She does, I think, owe Abby something for the way in which she left. But at the same time, that's Olivia's life. And if she decides that that's what she's going to do, there are consequences to that. And, like, I support her in that decision. I don't always think she's right, but I support her decisions, and she felt she had to do that. So I think the way Abby approached her, blaming her for Harrison's death, was out of line.
Yeah,
I don't agree.
Well, but I kind of got the impression through the premiere was that no one knew Olivia was leaving. I picked up on that very early. The way Abby approached her, the way Huck approached her, the way Quinn approached her. It was like she didn't tell anybody.
She told them that she was leaving.
The only person she didn't tell was Fitz. Fitz is the only one who has a right to have feelings.
Fitz has no right to have feelings. Fitz is married to somebody else. He does not
Oh,
have a
don't
right.
get us started on
I'm
that
just
shit.
saying, Langston, what is your opinion? Because we are still on question number 1. So Langston, oh, he dropped off again. Well, my favorite 3 moments were the first scene for me was when David and Jake had that scene. And David was like, I did try to do something, but these colors were fucking scary, and I didn't want to have
The
anything.
black.
Oh, but they were all black files. Yeah, that was funny.
And then when Melly laid on the ground with when she was at Little Jerry's grave, that really broke my heart. And then honestly, the only time I have ever felt anything for Harrison's character, let's be real, was at the funeral. And it was playing that music. I was like,
Oh my God, Bridge
God,
over troubled waters.
Oh,
Oh, the
that was
music this
me to church.
episode.
Aretha Franklin.
oh my gosh, it was amazing. I was
It was Aretha Franklin. You can't go
So
wrong with that.
good.
Oh,
This is
Oh
it.
my God.
Langston, what were
Yeah.
your favorite 3 moments before you drop off again? And we can't. Okay, he dropped off again. All right. So
yep.
He's gonna come in later and
the
just tell us
case for the
everything.
episode. What was compelling about the case for the episode, and why? Did it support a storyline? Did it take away from it? The episode.
I thought it was good. The whole women deserve equal pay. That's always been a very hot topic, but it's coming to the forefront again in our country. So I thought it was really great of Shonda to sort of incorporate that into the show. She does a good job of that, kind of weaving current events with the story that they're trying to tell. I don't feel like it really took away from what needed to happen, because you needed something to allow Olivia to come back to sort of start to be Olivia, even though they got her back with Harrison's death. You needed to have a reason for her to stay. And so this is a reason for her to stay, because she's now fighting for someone else. And we all know that is what Olivia does. She is the campaigner of people who she feels have been injustice in a way. So I liked it.
So let's get Langston's opinion on his favorite 3 scenes from this episode, since he's here with us. Langston, can you hear us?
For now. Langston?
Langston?
It's just his pretty picture up. He's not there.
You can't hear me?
Oh, we can hear you
I
now.
know. We can hear you.
Okay. So my favorite moments, as I stated earlier, one of the confrontation between Olivia and I wanted to address that whole confrontation thing that y'all were talking about. I think that they first of all, Abby, just like Olivia said, you were there and you did nothing. And specifically, we all know that they had to have known where Harrison was going when he left the office. When he asked, where did she go? And they said that she had already boarded a plane. So therefore, it shouldn't have taken them that long to figure out that Rowan is responsible, because that's the last place.
Okay. Well, somebody is drying clothes, and Langston just dropped off again. So we'll just go ahead.
Yeah, who is drying clothes?
I can hear it tumbling. I'm like, what is
Me too. Like there's a clothespin or a button that's like going
Elde'a is
around.
mighty silent.
Oh, you can hear the dryer? I'm like, I didn't know you could hear it. I didn't know you could hear it. I'm like nowhere near the laundry room. That's so funny.
Like, me and your points. Okay, Langston, go ahead. Yes.
Okay, so what I was saying was that, they had to know that that was the last place that he was going. If not, then he was completely stupid for leaving the office without telling anybody where he was going. So, but at the end of the day, I thought that was a strong scene. It was a strong confrontation between those two.
There's more to the conversation that there's more conversation that needs to be had between the two of them. It's definitely not the end. That was their initial connection, and I feel like probably all of the anger that came, and also stress that came out of Abby. Remember, she said she had 3 minutes. She's been working her ass off at the White House, and I think probably all of those feelings came out in that moment, and everything came tumbling out the way it did, and she probably just accused her of the worst thing, because she was generally just mad at the fact that she left, because she couldn't say, I was hurt by you leaving. She deflects by blaming her for Harrison's death.
So if you
which
are
I
now
thought was
just
wrong.
joining us for the Scandal podcast, there is a way for you all to chat back with us and chime into the conversation. It is the Q&A app that is in front of you on the screen, so you can click on it and just put in what your opinions are or what you think about the episode, and we will share it on air. We have a tweet, or you can tweet us at Scandal Podcast. We have a tweet from Annette Evelyn. She said, all gladiators at Harrison's funeral was one of her favorite moments. Huck giving with the phone, swirling it like Harrison,
Yes, I caught that too.
and Olitz passing and almost touching. We have Gladiator in Harlem. Hello, buddy. She is in
Hello.
the Q&A room, and yes, we can see you. She said some of her favorite moments was, dang, Fitz, she says this. She has a few things in here. She said, dang, Fitz tried to commit suicide. What? Liv can't leave
Yes.
anybody for any reason. All hell breaks loose. That's a lot of pressure on one woman. Her funniest moment was when Melanie had the cereal box and was on the couch.
Yes.
That was pretty funny.
But Melly not waxing though. My funniest moment was in the Oval with the robe, no makeup, ratty hair, and Uggs. Yes, the Uggs. I'm like, Melly.
I was like, are those Bellamy's Uggs?
Yeah, they are. I think they are.
She's agreeing with Elde'a. She showed both Abby, and she owed both Abby and Huck an apology. Liv is not off the hook in that regard. These were her friends, not just her business associates. And she likes the fact that Olivia got the wake-up call from each one of her remaining association. Translation, pure shade. Olivia looked really shocked that they were so angry. If you guys can see this, I'm back. And then she's like, wait. Jake putting his moves on Liv in the bedroom, and Liv kept on talking. Okay, I'm gonna say it. Fitz, you gotta keep Liv from talking during sex time. Yeah, I said it. Jake is trying way too hard in that area. And the line from Melly, when you see her, you tell me. Fitz looked like he wanted to die. So that is Gladiator and Harlem's contribution. You all can contribute as well in the Q&A app. So make sure you select something and you say what you have to say in the app right on your screen. So click it and send us a message. So go ahead. I thought Langston was back, but he's not. So the case being compelling, did you feel it was compelling, Katrina? Did you answer that question?
Well, no, I haven't answered that question yet. As I'm talking about the case, I just want to say that I don't feel like Olivia got a wake-up call necessarily from each one of the OPA members. I don't know. I guess maybe their reaction surprised her because she was kind of re-entering reality. You guys remember at the beginning of this episode, Olivia was literally pretending with Jake to be someone else having another life. Her name was Julia Baker, or Julia Sugar Baker, as I like to call her from Designing Women.
That was a shout out. Wasn't that Diane Carroll's
It was a shout out to
Diane Julia?
Yeah, it was.
But Julia Sugar Baker was played by what's her face? God, what is her name? I can't remember, but
Dixie Carter.
Yes, Dixie Carter. That was a straight up Designing Women like reference right there. I was like, I love it.
But
anyway.
actually, as Elde'a said, it was more of a reference towards Diane Carroll's character. That was her actual name. It was Julia Baker.
Baker. But what was I saying? Shoot. Oh yeah, remember Olivia was literally pretending to be someone else, right? So she comes back into DC, and that's the beginning of this is my town. These are my people. These are my causes. This is me. This is what I am here for. And it wasn't about coming to somebody else's rescue, because I said in my finale piece, I don't want Olivia to come back because of somebody's emergency, because somebody needs her for something, but because she's located the Olivia Pope that she wants to be. And I felt that way by the end of the episode. And it ties into the case because the elements of the case, you could see she was sort of weighing both of them, right? You had the moment in the bedroom with Jake where she's realizing, like, this is insane. No, I need to be here to help because X, Y, and Z, and it's all the stuff that's important to her, and she's realizing it. And I had to side eye a little bit, which I'll talk about later. But then also she had a kind of what seemed like a post-traumatic moment when the senator and the aide were arguing when, you know, the aide found out that, wait a minute, you set me up. There was this moment that she had like, oh my God, I don't know if I can deal with this bullshit again. And she wanted to leave. And then she had that moment, she was like, I just remember what Harrison would say, are we gladiators or are we bitches? Like, this isn't going to be easy, but it's important to me. And I can't let it go. It's something that she holds onto. And the speech that she gave at the end on the steps of Congress with the two women there about sexual, did she say it was equal pay or sexual harassment? It was about equal pay and fighting that issue. I think that what it established, not just in the episode, but also for the upcoming season, is that Scandal is going back to a more political bent rather than going down the B613 route. And I am going to make a prediction that this stuff with women, women's rights, equal pay, and perhaps even sexual harassment, we're going to see this converge with the emergence of Melly 2.0. Because I think Shonda is going to give Melly a way to take back her power with these political topics that are coming up. And I don't know exactly when that moment is coming, but I'm pretty certain that these two things are going to converge, and Melly's going to find her way through this and the future that she wants. Okay. So I thought it was a great setup for the rest of the season.
All right. Well, we have a chime in here from the audience. Tula Rosebud says that she gives, for her 3 moments, it was how Liv took charge again, Melly, her look and nun waxing, Fitz and Liv at the end. Those were her favorite 3 moments. And she agrees that the case was compelling for this episode. And I also agree, because I could not believe that that lady just dangled that other woman out there for bait. I was like, what kind of dirty mess is that?
But this is politics. This is politics. Like, there's no leaning in.
You know who I love
politics?
Seeing? Portia de Rossi. I was
like,
I want to know how her character is going to emerge. She's like the new Hollis or something, you know?
She's the
kind
head
of
RNC,
Republican
right?
donor wrangler. Is that what she is? The head of? Yeah, she's always talking about the tent. Their tent.
My question is Abby now the new James?
Yeah, I think she's press secretary.
Yeah. Oh my God, we all know everybody dies in that position.
Liv was press secretary. She didn't die.
Well, no, she wasn't. She was communications director. She wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm just saying, people die, and we don't want Little Red to be dead. We don't need all the OPA just dead in the grave. That's good.
Well,
no, what? LD, you trying to kill people off already?
No, I'm just...
We just got rid of Harrison. We just put his funeral program away. And here you are trying to kill more folks from OPA.
I miss Harrison.
I know. And you know, you were supposed to talk about that last episode, Katrina, but you never did, remember? You were supposed to talk about that.
No, I was going to say the reason why I will miss him is because of the interactions with black men that Olivia has had on the show. The one with her father is very controlling and combative in some ways, right?
Yeah.
And there's a patriarchal dominance there that's quite obvious to everyone who will look. And I know some people think like, yeah, well, that's just a black daddy. No, it's not. Rowan is a particular brand of black.
He's straight up.
And then he's old and black, TM. But
he's straight up evil.
The other black man was Edison, who also wanted to kind of subsume Olivia into his identity in some ways, right? Mother of my children, keeper of my country home. You could have all of this, be Mrs. Edison Davis. And she's like, well, I don't want that bullshit. Like, that bullshit life. And she also had like they had they had like great friendly and political banter, but there was also a kind of a tete-a-tete that went there because Edison wanted to one-up her or felt like he needed to be the better person in the relationship and that she needed to take herself down a notch. However, where Harrison was concerned, Harrison only, well, for the most part, only ever supported Olivia, and he was extremely loyal to her. I love the moment in season 2 when he comes to her, even though he fucked Abby over for this, he comes to her and he says, "What do you need me to do, Olivia? Just say it and I will do it, like no questions." And even when the times where he challenged her for her own sake, Olivia would give him a look and he would back down. So I love their relationship because of the way he had her back and didn't, and he was her boss and he didn't need her to be lesser in order to appreciate, love her, and he followed her orders and always had her best interests like in mind. And so I will miss Olivia having that kind of relationship with a black man on the show.
Okay, I have a question. Standing in the sun or being shaded by 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, do you think that was her making a metaphorical choice between Fitz and Jake, or do you think it was a conscious choice?
No, I think it is. It's weird. I think it's weird. I think it's like a subconscious conscious choice. I think her subconscious is making this choice and it's always there and she's trying to lie to herself. Remember what I said about pretending at the beginning of the episode? So these people are literally in the sun, right? But they are pretending to be other people in order to make that relationship work. And as soon as they get back to DC, Olivia no sooner is seeking out Fitz in some way. She's sitting at home, she's watching news clippings about Fitz and his presidency, and as soon as the door opens and Jake comes in, she turns it off because she doesn't want him to know that she is even thinking about this man, because she knows she has to pretend that that life of hers is dead in order to even minimally convince herself that she can have something with Jake. It's never going to work. And Jake knows it, which is why he responded to her in such an angry and chauvinistic way in the bedroom, talking about, well, I'm the one you love to ride and I've taken you places that he can't reach. I feel like I was in Coming to America. You know that scene where they get their luggage stolen and that guy with the trench coat comes up and I got some nice toothbrushes to show. And I was like, bitch, I got some gold-plated evidence to show you. Check it out. To the contrary, because what are you talking about, Jake? You don't know nothing about where she's been and where Fitz is taking her to. Shut your ass up.
That person cackling on the podcast is, of course, Elde'a, so she's going to tell us what she thinks about that question.
To put it simpler, let me quote my girl Spectacles in script. She said, "Bitch, wet."
Because I agree with Katrina on that. I thought that it was he came off as very juvenile in that scene. It was very, very juvenile of him to be like,
it's not the
first. It's not Jaha, you're totally right.
Yeah, but it's like he knows what it is. He knows that he will always be competing to be her second choice. He knows that. So it's like, why are you acting like she chose you? She never chose you.
She didn't. No.
She was going to get on the plane, and you were like, take me with you. Can I come along? And she was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like she never chose you, dude. You chose her. It's the other way around. So I agree with Katrina. It was, yeah.
He's so proud.
What do you think, Langstan?
Yeah.
He's on mute still. He's not really there.
Langstan.
I'm actually am here, but what I have to say about that whole scenario with Jake and Olivia, I can't say in public. So
Well, tweet it to me, Langstan. I just tweeted the question to you. Langstan, you're probably going to have to be more on the Twitter side so we can Twitter chat with you while you're writing. So any question that is too out of pocket, you can tweet it to me and I'll just say it on the podcast. So you can still be in our conversation because he's coming in and out. He's trying to get home, y'all. So we're trying to, segue into that. So this is fun. I like this. I like the idea of the game-changing moment. So do you all see that there was one last night? I think the game-changing moment was actually the case when she decided to take the case. Mm-hmm. What do you all think the game-changing moment was? Was it at the end when they almost touched fingers?
For me, my game-changing moment was her conversation with Papa Pope. I know that sounds weird, but for the first time when he and Olivia were in a scene together, I could see the wheels in her head turning. And it was even before he said, "Go ahead, ask me. I know you need to ask me about Harrison." I could
Mhm.
see her. I could see, like, when she walked up, he was like, "Oh, Olivia." She was like, "You knew I was coming." Like, I could see that, even though he still mind effed her in the end when he was like, "And Fitz ordered your mother's death, and he did you a favor." I could see the wheels in her head turning. So I think that was a game changing moment, because I feel like she's gonna start at some point. She's gonna start to try to really uncover what happened to Harrison, how did it happen, why it happened, how exactly did she end up on the plane, why did she end up on the plane. I feel like she doesn't really yet know the answers to those questions, because he even said, did you ask my permission to leave? And you could see her kind of look at him like, okay,
Who are you talking
okay, yeah, yeah, what do you mean by that? So my game changing moment was that conversation she had with Papa Pope.
See, and See, I think that moment was a manifestation of what's been happening to her before that, which is why I mentioned the Abby thing, because I said that was the start for me. And so the conversation with her father was yet further evidence of how she's dealing with people now, and what she's refusing to take, or how she's kind of maneuvering her way through conversations, and she's not taking on other people's guilt and burdens.
Right.
One of the reasons for her leaving was because she took on everybody else's guilt and burden. Like that boy dying, Jerry dying is not her fault. Her parents' bullshit, not her fault. Right. Shit that happened to Melly, not her fault. Yet all of that shit is why she left, because she blamed herself. Like, if I can't control what my father does and his kind of manipulations with the people that I love, I can control what I do with myself and remove myself from this equation. Now, I think coming back, she's still controlling the situation by deciding how she's going to deal with it. Not by leaving, but just by changing the way she interacts with these people. So she's, instead of regressing like she has before with her father, cowering like she has before with her father, what she did this time was just kind of, I'm not going to challenge you. I know you're on some bullshit, but I'm not going to let you know that I know that I suspect you of some bullshit. And I'm going to find this out. But I do think you're right, Elde'a, that what happened to Harrison is going to be the catalyst for her to find out everything else that her father has manipulated around her back, because that's going to lead her there, because that's what Harrison uncovered when he died. Right. Yeah, and so that's going to lead her there, to those answers.
Now, I wanted to chime in with a comment from a reader, listener. Tula Rosebud said that she has a prediction about Abby and her new job versus Liv in OPA, and she wanted to know, was it really working when they were in Zanzibar? Because they were, I'm paraphrasing here for her, but because they were pretending to be other people, they weren't actually other people. And even when they got back and he's calling her Jules and that kind of thing, it's not really her life. And then she said a real man would not have said that. Liv and Fitz make love with their souls as well as their bodies. But I kind of feel like Jake is just a scumball, and just when he said that to her, even she kind of sat back a little bit, like she did a small, slight lip quiver. I was like, ooh, first lip quiver of the night. So
I don't think her lip quivered when she said that to her. She had a look like
we came up here. So yeah, it did quiver just a teensy bit. Okay. Not a love quiver, but I know you didn't quiver like that. It's kind of a quiver like that.
They the pretending thing, which I mentioned a couple of times earlier. And I mean, the pretending went so far as didn't extend to the acting for me. Like, Carrie, I love you down so much, but you cannot sell to me that Jake putting his fingers in Olivia's bag is anything for her. You look like you were telling him to go on and keep telling you a boring ass story. Like, that's what it looked like to me. I'm sorry. I couldn't buy it. I'm gonna have to quote my girl Spectacles and Script again on this. She said Jake couldn't get a paper bag in water wet. No, ma'am.
Do
you know what that was thinking?
Oh my goodness! Wow, such a killing script.
Ooh.
Langston, what was your game-changing moment from last night? Do you have one?
My game-changing moment.
Yes.
Game-changing moment for me was look. I mean, it really happened early on with the whole.
Okay, well, that's that part of the game-changing moment, I guess.
I just want to show everybody my shirt, my last unicorn, like shirt, and it's in honor of my favorite unicorn, Fitzgerald Grant, the third, because just like Olivia, I love him down, and I just want to say I can't believe he tried to commit suicide. Boo! It must have really been bad.
God.
And I can't wait to have a flashback to that moment. Like, how'd you try to do it? Was it pills? Like, what happened? And a big shout out and thanks to Tony Goldwyn for leaving his curls the fuck alone, and they're looking glorious and luscious, and thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now that we've had that Tony moment, that moment of silence for Tony Goldwyn and his unicorn badass curls, I guess we'll move on. That wasn't really a part.
I just had to get that out.
Just saying. She has her faves, and she has to put that out there. So the Olitz thing, Dio Woo says that she thinks the Olitz thing is a case if you can't be with the one you love. Oh, girl, please. If you can't be with the one you love, be with the one you're with. I don't like that idea.
I don't believe in that one.
Me either.
I think that's a sad existence. I would
yes,
really
it is.
rather
Be with the
be by
one you want
myself
to be with. Exactly.
if I can't have what I want. And
I know.
I think
I love me some me. I'll be with this one right here.
No problems being with me. Like, I could spend days and days by myself. Like, seriously.
In the
I'm
quiet.
quite entertaining. Yeah, in the quiet. Like, I don't need TV. I don't need any of that shit.
Now, if I didn't have to make money, I would be by myself all the time. Y'all.
Right. No, it's true though. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So that's that. I don't really understand why. Okay, somebody else was saying something. No, I was just trying to make sure that we had all the stuff up to date. What scene would you have taken out or extended from last night's show?
Ooh.
I didn't actually.
I didn't have one. I can't, like, I didn't really have one where I was like, oh, I felt like that could have been dropped, or oh, that should have been extended. I felt like every scene had its, I didn't have one.
I think the scene from with David and Abby was something that could have been saved for next episode, honestly, because it really, something could have been extended a little bit more to get rid of that moment. Like, we could have gotten a little bit of Huck's, what happened with his family thing there in that little segment.
Might be coming. They might
just. I know. But I just think
they wanted
Abby
to establish.
But
the only thing we got out of that was that they broke up again, right?
Exactly.
But we needed that for the Attorney General thing.
Child, I didn't care.
I wonder if she's gonna. Oh, but Leo isn't around anymore because weren't people like
Sally campaign manager?
Now that's what I want. I would have liked to know what happened to Sally. Where the hell is Hollis? Did they get
I
rid of Hollis?
I want to know where Sally is.
Well, they all left. We'll just assume they all left town. Like, let's just.
No, Hollis is around. Hollis' ass is around, and he might pop up now and then because he's a big Republican donor. So
and Sally is coming back because Kate Burton did an interview and she said she has been told that she will be back for the back half of the season.
So
Sally is coming back at some point.
Something happened
till next year. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I would know
all about the plot plot and character motivations for the title of the show, but we've already covered that. We covered that at the beginning of the episode. But who is your favorite character or MVP for this episode? And before we get too deep into that, we are having a lovely Patreon campaign that we would love you all to take part in. If you are a part of the Scandal Podcast crew, we are now fundraising so that we can make sure that these lovely gladiators that are on this panel every single week get their pay, because Elde'a takes off every week, or every week she's on here to be a part of this Scandal Podcast. Katrina is a diligent student getting her PhD. Langstan does the same. You see he's on a train. Now this man is on a train trying to get home to be here for this podcast. And I am an entrepreneur, so of course most of my business and things have to be funded. So we would love it all if you would go to dramaqueenbooks.com/scandal and support the podcast. $3, $5, $10 a month. It all goes to a worthy cause. Thank you all so much for listening. But what does the title of the favorite MVP? I can't speak. MVP character of this episode. Who is that and why for all of you all?
Okay, mine, I think we'll probably all end up agreeing, but mine was Melly. Obviously, she didn't have a lot to do in this episode, but with what Bellamy was given, she knocked it out of the park. I mean, I was really interested to see how they were going to bring Melly back, because they had said in interviews that she was still going to be grieving. Her and Fitz were going to be sort of in the midst of that. And so I think everyone sort of thought you would find her sort of curled up in a ball in a room somewhere. And they almost did the complete opposite of that, having her come into the Oval while Fitz and Cyrus are discussing policy. And she walks in and she's like, no, go ahead. I'm just going to have a seat. And she sits there and she still makes her snarky comments. And then she's like, okay, we done? Okay, I'm going to go bowling. Let's go bowling. I want to go bowling. She's like, we've never used a bowling alley. I'm going to go bowling. And then, you see the scene with her and Fitz where it's growth, I think is what we're seeing, where she says to him flat out, you will let me know when you see her. And he's like, I'm not going to. And she's like, well, you will let me know when you see her. And that scene was so beautiful, and it said so much without really saying anything about the state of their marriage, because we have to keep in mind it's only been 2 months since Olivia left. It seems much longer.
I think it said a lot about their marriage.
But they made it very clear it's only been too much, which is 60 days, which is why she didn't choose you, Jake, but that's a whole nother story. It's 2 months. It's 2 months. That's not a lot of time. Come on. But
you were standing out, Elde'a. I love it.
I'm sorry. But so then that scene where she turns around and she says to him, and she says, I will just add it to the list of things that we are not to talk about. Son's death. I love how she didn't refer to Olivia as a whore or some other name. She just said, you're missing mistress.
Told you guys.
Yes. Gross.
I said, after the rape, I said, watch. Now that the rape has been revealed, Melly and Olivia's relationship is going to change. Like, this is written down. I said this months and months ago. I said their relationship is going to change. You are not going to hear Melly refer to Olivia as a whore anymore. And the other thing is that with what's happened to their family, Fitz absolutely needs to stay with his family for right now. He needs to heal his family. And I said the Grants' marriage is going to become one of a partnership and friendship. There is no more romantic sentiment there. They're going to work together, and they're going to have a more agreeable relationship with each other, because this death in their family and what's happened to Melly has actually broken down a lot of stuff and brought them together. And that's what we're seeing happening. Fitz has been supporting Melly with her going off the rails, and I love that he's been looking out for her in this way, and we're seeing Melly loose in all these ways where she's always been tightly wound, the pearls and the hair is done and she's perfectly coiffed and she's in her suits. You never see Melly undone, and she is undone in more ways than one.
She washed her hair. I don't know about brushing it, but she washed it. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, you have a perspective that Fitz has been supporting her. I actually got the opposite perspective. I got the perspective when she said, I will add it to the list of things that we cannot talk about it. I took that Melly has tried to deal with what has happened, i.e. their son dying, i.e. Olivia leaving, i.e. whatever, and Fitz is the one who was like, we're not going to talk about it. We're going to pretend like it didn't happen, and this is what we need to do. Fitz has almost become Melly in the sense of like he's just shut himself off, and he's like, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to deal with it. We're in the White House. This is what it is. This is what we have to do. That's why I thought that scene said so much without saying anything, because I thought that was Melly's way of trying to get him to talk, and he immediately shut her down and was like, we're not going to talk about that. Don't you bring that up again. I got the opposite. I don't think he's been as supportive.
No. What I mean by supportive is that I think he's been supportive with the ways in which her behavior has changed.
Okay.
Because this is a different Melly, right? Yeah. He's making sure that she's not drinking, that she has what she needs. Like, did you take a shower today? Like, all those things. Almost like she's a child in some ways. Like, he's taking care of her, making sure that she's kind of protected in the White House with in her state of undone. In her grief. I mean, in that way, like he's looking out for her in that way. And sometimes what happens is when something like that hits both people, like this sometimes occurs in, let's say, when people, a couple goes through like a miscarriage, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes one of them, in helping the other person with their grief, they take on a lot of the burden and they go inward. And they don't know how to deal with it. So they throw themselves into their work. Fitz is very focused on. He is very focused on what it is that he wants to do in his next term. And I think maybe that's part of it. And I think there's still a lot that we haven't seen. So some of this is conjecture. But from what I've seen, I do think you're right in that way that Fitz himself has gone in.
Uh-oh. Katrina?
Own grief, he was in a healthier place in talking about it. The fact that he's gone inward and tried to, commit suicide means that he's not talking about all of these things, but he's also moving on in some other ways that are productive. He's looking for the productive spaces in which to move forward while also trying to support his family, because that's who's there for him and that's who's there and needs him, at this time. Right. So when Langstan, Olivia comes back into the picture, I'm really interested to see what happens.
Okay. Langstan, who was your MVP for this episode?
Give me one more stop and I'll be able to answer that question.
I was like, let me ask him some stuff because he's there. Okay, well, my MVP for this episode was Quinn. And I have to say, sometimes me and Quinn don't get along. I've called her a couple things in my day. But this episode, it was Quinn because she really did try to bring OPA back together, which was very unlikely to me. I didn't see that happening. I thought she was gung-ho B613, but apparently she realizes that they're crazy as a bag of hammers, and she's leaving them alone. And I have a comment from Tula Rose. She said her MVP was Abby. I don't quite know why her MVP was Abby, because I don't see Abby having done anything MVP-ish. But hey,
Abby was a great press secretary from what I could see.
But that's her job now, and I just don't feel like she was an OPA-ish kind of girl. She wasn't on the wagon there. She was kind of a traitor to the cause. But I understand why she did tell Olivia last episode, we went over a cliff for you, and this the bullshit you try to pull. Because that's really what she was saying to Olivia, if you want to break it down. And she also wanted to know, Tula Rose wanted to know why Tom had a terrified look on his face when he saw Olivia. I agree. He looked like he was kind of either terrified or shocked.
Because look what Tom has done.
That's
look
true.
What Tom has done.
He killed Harrison.
Tom killed Harrison.
I'm just saying, but Olivia doesn't know.
No, she doesn't know yet, but Tom will be the key. Tom will be the key to her finding out.
But he's got to.
Tom is the providence key.
Her.
Because regardless,
running shit. Now daughter's back. That's gone. He like, oh shit.
because regardless of what he may be, may do on behalf of Rowan, I think he genuinely likes Olivia. I mean, regardless of the fact that he was spying on her for her father.
Okay, well, regardless of the fact that he was spying on her for her father. He
has done really nice things for Fitz and Olivia, but I think also we have to keep in mind, like, do we, view those things in a different light after finding out that he's been B613 all along. So everything, him.
Shock to my soul, y'all.
Telling, oh God, yeah. Oh, it was a betrayal. That was a real. Pearl touching moment like
Moment.
that. You at two, Tom?
No.
No.
A betrayal. Go ahead, Langston. What were you
It
saying?
hurt.
Okay,
Oh,
Langston.
he's not there.
He was there. Look at the nice sun behind him. I wish it was warm down here. Okay, I'm being beside myself. All right, so let's move on to the next question, which is who was your least favorite character for the episode? I'm going to start and say, of course, my least favorite character for the episode was Jake and his shenanigans and all his foolishness and fuckery. I was very disgusted at the fact that he was kissing Olivia, touching her in the same room, on the bed, skin cells rubbing against. Ugh, I just did not enjoy it. And anytime, and he took a picture with her apparently at the resort that they were at when they did it, and I retweeted it and I put hashtag yuck. Yuck, yuck, yuck. And it was retweeted several times by several of you outstanding gladiators. So thank you so much because I cannot stand him.
Yeah.
Okay, Harrison. Oh gosh, I call Langston Harrison.
Did you retweet that from the Scandal podcast or from Jaha Knight?
From Scandal Podcast, yeah. Because I was like, oh, yuck. That was last night. So
I'll just
your
second it.
favorite character, Elde'a?
I'll second it. It was Jake. I don't know. I know Chandra is all about, I'm not going to let the fans run the show. I'm not going to let you guys hijack me. I get that. But he has been on this show for 2 seasons, and no one... he serves no purpose. I still cannot figure out what the purpose of his character is. I don't get it. If he was
What
brought
character?
on to be Jake, if he was brought on to be a romantic foe for Fitz, he has failed miserably. If he was brought on to be a foe to Papa Pope, he has failed. Whatever she envisioned his character to bring to the show, he has failed. So it's not just us.
Elde'a, you are just my soul.
It is not just us like, we want Fitz and Liz to be together. No, it's you brought on the wrong actor to play a character that serves no purpose. Get rid of him. Simple as that.
Wow.
Boom. Full stop.
So it sounds like Elde'a feels some kind of way about
just a little bit.
About Jake, the way you once felt about Harrison. So we'll give Scott probably another season before he's killed off.
No. Can we get him killed off like this season? Elde'a, welcome aboard.
Even with the picture of him standing there half naked at the beginning of I was like, what is his chest? Uncooked chicken. It just looked nasty.
I mean, how about he just look? How about he?
Did you not do it?
He just?
Before
how about he just looked like he was sequenced? That just looked wrong. Like they were on. Like they hadn't been enjoying themselves, but he had actually been like. Shipwrecked somewhere. That's what he looked like to me.
Oh no,
he looked like he had been shipwrecked.
Remember that movie where I can't remember what his name is, but he had that ball as a companion the whole entire movie?
Oh, Tom Hanks in Castaway.
Yeah, he did. He looked like Castaway. He looked like Tom Hanks in Castaway.
That is hilarious.
But I just want to go back and reference the whole situation between Olivia and Jake when he was talking about, you love to ride me and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That was just Jake's metaphorical way of trying to say that his dick was bigger than Fitz. And
he failed.
And it was like really, Jake, come on now.
And you know what, men who have
and even Olivia looked at him like, are you
talk about their prowess that way?
Yes.
Not really living up to it in actuality. Let me tell you this from experience.
And even though Olivia never said a word, the look on her face was like, yeah, no. Happening.
So, who was your least favorite character?
Because that.
Langston.
What was that?
Who's your favorite? Your least?
My favorite was Melly, just because she kept me laughing. I mean, that just her opening scene where she just kind of walks in and just kind of like greets everybody and Fitz is like, Melly, I thought we were gonna get dressed today, and she's like, well, I got on the t-shirt's only 2 days old, and the panties are fresh out of the dryer. I was done. I was just cracking up all over the place. But then her exit, of course, when they said, when he said, oh, when Cyrus said, oh, that's just iced tea. Oh, looks like I'm going bowling. Something tells me that somewhere in that bowling alley, she got a side stash of hooch somewhere. So basically, it was bye honey, bye Cyrus, bye redheaded lady. It was too comical for me. And then of course the scene on the balcony was just like, I mean, well, and even you reference her scene in the cemetery just laying out on top of the grave. Yeah. That, it was poignant and funny, and so was the because she's lost. Same thing with the balcony scene. It's like she's just, she's rambling, but she's coherent, but at the same time, she's like, you know what? I don't give a shit anymore. I don't give a shit about shit right now.
Yeah.
My baby's
done and undone.
My baby's gone. My baby's gone, and I'm not getting dressed for the cameras. I'm not getting dressed for anybody. Yeah. She just didn't care. And if she's out on the balcony, and good and well, there's probably someone taking telephoto lens photos of her out on the balcony. Matter of fact, didn't they show like an Inquirer cover or some newspaper cover where they said she was batshit crazy or something like that?
Next week,
the first crazy, the first
her laying down in front of the grave.
The first crazy. They called her the first crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, but who wouldn't be? Your son just died. How would you feel if that happened to you? That would, oh man.
Yeah.
And she has a lot of regrets.
And the fact that
he said it in the season finale. I didn't know if he was your son, but he was always my son.
And
and she should have treated him better. Right, and she should have treated him better, but she didn't, because she always assumed that he was a product of the rape.
Did she say the Fitz? I was scared of what. I kept my distance because I was scared of what he might be. Turns out he was yours, but he was always mine.
If you are joining us live, you can tweet me at Scandal Podcast to join in the discussion about who your favorite character was from last night, who your least favorite character was, or you can click the screen all in front of you and chime into the conversation so that we can also know what you think, and we'll give you a shout out, of course, on the podcast. What was the most out of character thing anyone said or did in last night's episode?
Oh,
out of character.
Yes.
I didn't really have one of those either. I was thinking Cyrus, but then I was like, no, he had his, in that one scene with Portia, he had his usual, it wasn't as loud and boisterous as it usually is, but he had his Cyrus, rant.
Cyrus is trying to control
it may not have been an out of character moment or word, but that hair on Cyrus's head. That was completely out of character for me, because I was like, I can't with you right now.
I was distracted.
It was like, what's going on? What's going on with this Nina?
Okay.
The bangs were a little.
I just can't.
Y'all can't get mad because that man had a bang.
Yeah, because I had to go back and look at last season just to try to remember what his hair looked like before, and I tell you, I prefer the thinning situation happening, because the hair club for men is not happening.
He is happy with that little bit of hair he has manifested up there.
Well, they need to restyle. They need to restyle that hair plug real quick.
It back. That's like they're trying to be too young by like giving these little tendrils like in the front. Don't just
right. So
y'all
these tendrils.
That was out of character. That was out of character and out of pocket for me.
So which
I'm sorry.
character could y'all
I'm
relate?
sorry, Jeff. If you're listening out there somewhere, I'm sorry. The hair plugs are not working.
That was Langston. My voice is deep, but it ain't that deep. So please don't ever tweet me and say Jaha said. No,
We love you. Tip the
I'm,
rest of this.
I'm telling them I love
That's
them,
our
but
gift to
I'm
Poppy for
not
you.
feeling the hair. I'm not feeling the hair.
oh,
Just not.
all right. So what was your y'all got it? Y'all good? Cause somebody's
I'm
still
good.
laughing.
No, I'm good.
Which was the character that you could relate to the most in last night's episode? Who did you relate to the most?
Oh God.
Ooh.
Shit.
You know what? I'm going to go out on oh God, it's hard. It's really actually between Melly and Fitz.
Really?
Yeah, because I could see in times of grief and hardship, I could see myself between the both of them, sort of like being really disheveled like Melly and just plopping down, eating whatever, and just not caring. But also, also tend to go really inward. So I'm not the kind who's gonna like phone a friend and talk about it or anything like that. I'll do other things. So I might laugh and like kiki about whatever, but still be holding in a lot of shit and just not want to talk about it and not bring it up. So
Right.
I found myself really identifying with both of them in that moment on the balcony scene, which is, I guess, also part of why I just loved it so much. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm. What
I
about
would
you? Well, let's get Langston first
go
because
ahead.
he
Well,
comes in and out.
let's let Elde'a go because I was thinking about
You're
it.
still thinking. Okay, go ahead, LB.
Okay,
Hmm.
I would probably say Quinn in the sense that I'm the person in my family when things kind of get disheveled. I'm the one that brings everyone back together.
Mm.
I'm much more, nothing really bothers me. I don't take anything personal. Everything, like they say, water off a duck's back for me. So I could relate to Quinn in the sense of trying to bring everyone back together and wanting to sort of fix whatever was wrong. So yeah, I would say Quinn.
Mm. Are you ready now? You ready?
Yeah, I would say probably Abby, a mix of Abby and Huck, just because I'm the kind of person that once you disappoint me, it takes a minute for you to pull me back in,
Yeah.
Mm.
and
Yeah.
that's my
Same.
that those are the two people I related to the most because I really, even though they knew that she was leaving, just the fact that she left and it didn't matter that they didn't want her to leave, that
Right.
once your feelings are hurt, it's kind of hard to come back real quick.
But Langston, if you turn that around and you were the person who felt like you needed to leave, would you feel like, oh, these people don't want me to leave and they're sad, therefore I'm going to stay? Or would you be determined to
Well, I
do
mean,
what you thought you needed?
I think I would have handled it differently than she did. I don't think I would have just abruptly just left without really making them understand why I was leaving. I mean, because I have a similar situation with when I decided to leave my hometown and move to Chicago. I had to explain to my nieces and nephews why I was leaving. They didn't want me to, but I had to sit down and explain it to them. It took them a while to get over it, but I can understand it from both sides. So, but yeah, I'm still like that. I'm still if I'm disappointed, I'm gonna be disappointed until I'm over it.
Yeah, no, and I understand that because I'm the same way. And so is
Hmm.
Fitz.
Hmm.
All right. Well, I don't have one, so I'm just moving on. Isn't that a cop out?
Okay.
I mean, I felt more kinship with probably Quinn, because if you about to be out doing your own thing and you know that our home base is kind of falling apart, I'm gonna find you, Heifer, because I need you to come on in here and fix this and make this right. So I did feel a kinship with Quinn,
Hmm.
but I actually felt a lot for Melly. Like I was just really like, man, it's got to be hard to deal with something like that. And the fact that
Mhm.
she's trying, I also felt for Fitz because he is also trying. And Olivia did kind of bail out on him, and he still needed her, even though we all know why she left, which is, because she felt responsible, wholly responsible for what her
Hmm.
mother did, because it wasn't even her mom that did that. But
Mm.
she felt the responsibility of that, and that's a terrible weight to carry on your shoulders. So I kind of felt for all of them, to be quite frank. The
Can
trifecta If well, more than a trifecta, more like a quad or whatever. Y'all get what I'm saying. I don't know.
Can I could I could I could I share kind of a predictive thing that I kind of feel coming, hitting
Please.
me during the whole Abby Olivia confrontation after she left Abby and she was telling Quinn to go home. Quinn was trying to tell her something, and she
Yeah.
wasn't trying to hear it. And
Something. Yeah.
something tells me
She
that
knows.
she knows what happened to Harrison, and she's the one that found him. Because I have a feeling
Mm.
that you know her and her overzealousness probably
Mm-hmm.
planted a tracking device on him, and that's how they found him.
Huh.
So that's just where I'm at because I watched that scene back and forth, and it's just every time it was like Olivia's like go home, but no, just leave me alone, go home, but I wait, and she just kept cutting her off. So and then her last words after that were son of a bitch
Yeah.
because there's
Yeah,
something that
like
Olivia
that.
wasn't letting her get it out.
Yeah, true.
So
Tula,
I
Tula,
feel something behind that.
We shall see. What
Tula
comes out.
Rosebud says Quinn
Yeah.
going home to OPA and finding Liv. I think that's probably part of her favorite moments or something like that. And Annie said Quinn was her most favorite because she had Liv's back all the way. Least favorite was Jake because of that moan conversation. And I have a question in the queue for Katrina because don't none of us other gladiators know nothing. I'm just go ahead and say that like
What?
no, this question
That
is
sounds like a little bit of bitterness right up in through
Ooh,
there.
I'm like,
for
is this shade to me? Is that like
the
sarcastic?
Yep,
no,
you are no longer standing in the sun,
you
Katrina.
in the shade. No, no, Katrina, this question is for you. Now that all the cards are on the table in the Grant marriage, what's in store for them? After watching the premiere, it seems like they just needed to let it go. Cue the Frozen theme song. LOL. This is from Gladiator in
Let
Harlem.
it go.
Well, I wrote about my prediction for their marriage. I actually wrote about my prediction for what's going to happen with Mellie after the fourth episode and the third season, and that I think she will be the one who will eventually ask for the divorce in the marriage. I do think there is a kind of realization that's dawning, and part of this communication that's opened up in their marriage, I think, is a really good and healthy thing. It's not leading towards a healing in a sort of like romantic sense, but they will always be family. They have children together, and they're always going to be a family in some ways, no matter what he creates with Olivia in Vermont. And that in order for Mellie to progress to where she wants to be, it has to be on her own steam and not because of the marriage that she's in, what she's depending on, or what she thought she was going to get from Fitz. And this, as I mentioned earlier, the storylines that have been set up so far, which are very much about sort of women's rights this season, as far as we can tell, is going to involve Mellie in a really kind of personal and political way, and I think will sort of like create a path for her to the bright political future that she says she's capable of, and that she'll see that doing so and being out of this marriage is to her benefit. And so I think that's where it's headed. I don't know. Shonda like throws a lot of wrenches in and
Right.
can go all kinds of ways, but that's the most logical place that's going to go for me. And I kind of saw that after that Mrs. Myers woman in episode 304. That's when it occurred to me that, oh, wait, Mellie might go in this direction. So we'll see. That's what I think.
And remember
Well,
earlier I
and
said,
you know what?
oh, go ahead, because
I was just going to say, tying into what Katrina was saying, that this new case looks like it's going to be ongoing for at least a few episodes. And with that being about, another possible rape case or an assault situation, that may pull um, Mellie out of her doldrums and get her out there and get her active again as being an advocate for women and violence and the violence of rape.
And we're about to wrap this up because we are running over time. And the bonus information for the rest of the podcast will be put into our private Google Plus group. If you want to know how to be a part of that private Google Plus group, visit www.dramaqueenbooks.com/scandal. Thank you all for joining us. I do want to throw out the last thing that I had to say about this, and it came from Tula Rosebud. I wanted to make sure I got this comment in. She said Abby may be how Liv finds out that finds out about Fitz's suicide attempt, because she was probably the one who put the WH back together. I'm thinking she's meaning White House. But we're going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you all for listening and viewing the Scandal podcast. As always, you all can find us on iTunes and Stitcher, on those platforms, and you can always find us at dramaqueenbooks.com. That's where our home is now, and you can always find us there. But thank you all for listening. I'll take care.
Bye, guys.
Good night.
Bye. Night night.